Hi, I'm David Odell with Odell Complete Concrete, and today this video that we've done was especially for the community of the channel, and they've all replied and wanted. What we're doing is what we got the most likes on. This is how to mix concrete by hand. What we did was we went through, we've made different types of concrete here. This one here, what we did, this is called the rich mix, and what it is, it's 3 parts of gravel. I use 3/8 gravel, and then 2 parts sand and 1 part Portland cement. And over here, this is something custom that I just did since we're doing them. This is my particular design that I like to use, and this is the 3 rock, 2 sand, and 2 cement. So it's even richer than the rich. This one's even richer. This is my custom. It's easy to lay down. It's good for everything. Now, if you look at the sides of these, we just took the forms off a couple minutes ago. No vibrator used, although there's very little rock pockets on the sides of these. And these are your rich mix, and then of course Odell's Custom mix, which is the 322, 321. Then if we come over here, here's a standard mix right here. I just played with it, put some handprints in it and stuff. I got my granddaughter here. I've got my handprints, my wife's. And this particular design here is a 4 parts concrete, rock, and then 2 parts sand, 1 part cement. Now if you look at the sides of this one, since it is a little leaner than the other 2 and it's got more rock in it, the rock pockets are starting to get a little bit bigger. And you notice we didn't use any vibrator on any of this. We tapped the forms a little bit, and you'll see that in the overview as well, along with this video. Now over here, what we have is a broom finish. Now this is the lean mix. You're gonna save a little money using a mix like this. Very hard to work with. I really don't recommend it, but it's great for maybe a footing, or even if you're grouting a block wall, this would be fine mix right here. And this is 6 parts rock, 3 parts sand, 1 part cement. Now let's take a look at the sides here, and we can talk about the rock pockets you're gonna get when you go with these lean mixes. Look at those honeycombs there. Of course, we didn't use a vibrator. A vibrator may have gotten these out, possibly. But when you go with the other mixes, the rich and then the Odell's Custom, even the standard's not too bad. When you get down to this ratio here, you're gonna get a lot of rock pockets. Very hard to work. You'll see that in the video as well. Over here, what we have is another Odell Custom blend. This is a 322, which is what I like to use. Now look at the sides of this. No vibrator, no honeycombs, no rock pockets. Very smooth all the way around. And what we did a sand wash on this. This is a heavy sand wash, you could say. Very heavy. Now over here, we just did a semi-smooth trowel on this. It's a medium mix design. What it is it's 5 parts rock, 2.5 parts sand, 1 part cement. And you can see we've got some nice rock pockets here, even with this one. It's not too bad, but now I wanted to show you the bottom of this. Is really interesting. If you want to do countertops of any sort and you want a really smooth surface, since we poured on flat concrete with the Visqueen underneath, take a look at the bottom. This is just like glass. This is as smooth as glass right here. This could be very buffed out very nicely. Well, anyway, that shows you a little bit of the possibilities of doing a hand mix. You can really custom design your mix to meet your needs. And by the way, on this one that I seeded over here, I seeded with some nice 1/2-inch round river rock. We're going to show how you get this without mixing the rock in the load. We actually seed the surface, and that's along with this video. That'll be in there. Anyway, thank you. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the rest of this action. we'll show you how we get to this point through the mixing. So you've already watched the little clip I did, and now we're going to show you how we got to that point. And when I talk about you know, one part to 2 parts, 3 parts, my measuring tool is a shovel, and that's what I'm using to measure with. I'm doing 1 cement, 2 sand, 3 rock, and that is your rich mix. It's not the Odell Custom mix, but it is the rich mix. And then I break it down, and we go all the way down to a standard and a lean. And of course, in my little video clip, you've seen the differences with it. Basically, it's a little leaner. It has more rock in it, so you're going to get more rock pockets. Basically, it's going to cost you a little bit less to make a lean mix than a standard or an Odell Custom mix. So, you know, if that's a big issue, then yeah, you want to use a lean. And the lean is very difficult to finish, so I wouldn't recommend it for something you want to finish. But it is good for like a foundation of some block walls, or a seat wall perhaps, or even grouting block solid. So when you're doing this mix, you'll want to always add the water first, of course. And after I add the water, I like to put the gravel and the sand and the cement in those orders. The gravel helps bust up the cement, so you don't get chunks of cement in there, basically. Well, here's where I'm pouring them out, as you can see here. And this first mix is what they call the rich mix, and that's basically 1, 2, 3. It's a nice mix. I mean, you can use this for anything. It's a little more work to lay down than the Odell Custom, which is a 3-2-2, 3 rock, 2 sand, 2 cement. And that was really butterball to lay down. But that rich is not too bad. You could use that just about anywhere. Now you get down to the standard and the leans. That's underground work, basically. Something that you don't really want it or have to put a nice finish on. Now for a beginner doing the concrete, I would definitely go with the Odell Custom blend, and that's the 3-2-2 design. Real easy to lay down, and you don't have to beat the rocks and do a lot of work to get the cream to come up. Here's your standard. And I did some nice stuff with that standard mix. I ended up seeding it with some 1/2-inch river rock. Turned out real nice too. And that's going to be another video, how to do an exposed aggregate. All of those 2x2 stepping stones that I'm doing, I'm going to end up using those for stepping stones. Basically it's an enlarged paver. Now if I set those enlarged pavers on gravel, 6 inches or 4 inches of gravel and 1 inch of sand, basically have a paver application. It's not a 5,500 psi, of course, like a paver, but that Odell Custom will probably come up to 4,500. Your standard's probably right around 3,200. That lean's probably going to come up about 2,000, 2,500, something like that. And I don't, in the video clip I did, you can see the differences in on the edges where all the rock pockets and honeycombs were. So imagine that on the surface, trying to beat those rocks down and try to get a nice cream over them. It's a little difficult. So this is my measuring utensil. It's a shovel. As far as the water ratio goes to these mixes, that's just a matter of preference, really. You don't want to get it real wet because it's going to really weaken your concrete and you're going to get a lot more shrinkage. So you kind of want a little bit, plastic, but it's not too wet, so it's not really runny. Now, if you want to do a slump test on these, you get a 12-inch inverted funnel. Fill that with concrete, pull it up. Whatever it falls, it's a 12-inch to the top of that cone, and wherever it falls down, however many inches it falls down, that's your slump. You should be right around a 5-inch slump is a nice workable. 4-inch is pretty stiff, a little hard to work, although it is called for on a lot of commercial setting jobs. A residential 5-inch, 5.5-inch is pretty standard. So you can see how I'm working the concrete here, trying to get the rocks to go down. This was your standard mix here. A little bit on the wet side. Also on one of the mixes, the actually the rich mix, the 3-2-1, I did a salt finish on that. And that's just troweling it out, getting to the point where you normally would broom it, and then you throw the salt on there and tap it in. Here's your lean mix. You can see how rocky that is, and trying to get a finish on that's pretty tricky. So I would say that type of lean mix you'd want to put underground. Here's the Odell Custom. Notice how that lays down very nicely. Not a lot of rock pockets. Also, you notice when I stripped the form, you could see the rock pockets on the sides as well. The medium mix wasn't too bad. It was a little bit of a fight getting the rock pockets off the surface. Probably a little vibrator might have helped, really knock that around a little bit. Though I did use a hammer on the edges to try to juice it up as much as I could. A vibrator probably would have really did the trick. Now, sticking a vibrator on this one, I don't know what that would have done. I mean, it probably would have did a little something, but banging this thing around with the hammer, hitting it with the hand float, it was still a challenge. I even had to steal a little cream from the Odell Custom mix and throw over the top of these rocks. Now, if I had to compare any one of these mixes to, say, your pre-bag mixes, I would say that the Quickcrete pre-mix concrete mix is probably going with the standard, and that and that was a 3,500 psi, and it finished real similar to the standard mix, and that's probably the ratio they're going with. Now, if you went with the Blue Hawk, the 4,500 psi, I would say they're going with the rich mix, the 3-2-1. Maybe even a little more rich than that. Very little bit. Very little, though. The problem that I find in doing hand mixes with the 3 parts is consistency's one big problem you can run into on a large scale job. Is consistency, of course, when you're measuring these in these ways rather than going by weights. That's one issue you're going to run into. So that's why I like to go with the bag mix personally. It's cleaner as well. So say you buy 2 pallets close to 2 yards of bag mix, maybe you got a little extra left over, you can return it. Now if you got sand and you got cement, broken bags of cement, and you've got some aggregate and it's all everywhere scattered, and you got extra, a lot of times finding a place for the extra material is a little difficult. So I prefer bag mix especially in the location that I'm in. Much cleaner just to return. You can leave it on the pallet. They can lift it on, lift it off of the trailer, and real sweet and simple. This whole process to get mixed, get them in the boxes, get to our final finish was a good 7 hours. We're in direct sunlight at 80 degrees, and we're pouring on plastic, and it was cold concrete when we laid the concrete down, so all those things factor into your dry time. Each one of these stages I went through, from the initial laydown, the hand float, the second time I went over it was approximately hour and a half later, and then subsequently every hour and a half I touched it again till we get to 7 hours later, where I could actually do an exposed aggregate, seated exposed rinse down with no retardant, same day rinse. Also, I did a sand wash on one of these, and it was a rough sand wash, heavy exposed sand wash. So this one I'm just having a little fun with, putting some handprints in here. My granddaughter, my wife, her hands, or her hand I should say, one hand. Now this is the one I seeded. I want to show you how to do that. I have another video coming up that's going to really give you some detail on how you seed this without having to mix the aggregate in the whole batch of concrete. So you don't have to buy as much decorative aggregate that way. You're just putting it in the surface. Now here's a sand wash, same day, no retardant. Here's how I kind of loosen up the surface. You notice there's no spray nozzle on that water hose. When you're doing it the same day, you're not going to need a spray nozzle. You just let the water do the work. I just loosened it up a little bit with the brush, real light brushing. And then I just let the water rinse away the cream. And this is typically what you'll get in about 40-year-old concrete naturally occurring. So basically what I've done is taken a new piece of concrete and I made it 40 years old in an 8-hour period. And there's your salt finish on a rich mix. That's a 3-2-1. It's a nice mix. That rock salt I rinsed off the very next day. Here's a broom finish on a lean mix. Basically that broom finish on there just makes it a non-slip surface. There's a lot of ways you can do it. Like this, here's a non-slip surface. Heavy exposed sand wash. On this particular mix, I could have added a little more sand to the procedure, and I would have got probably a more consistent sand surface. And that's probably what I would do next time. Add a couple more scoops of sand to this batch. Probably needed another good hour of dry time before I rinsed it, but we're almost running out of daylight, so I just wanted to show you a couple possibilities. This video in general is just for the community part of the channel, which I put a question out asking what people would want to see in particular, and we got the most likes on this particular thing about how to mix concrete by hand. So that's what we did here.
Anyway, thank you for watching the video. If you want to know how to do that exposed or sand wash in detail, stay tuned for the next one. Have a nice day.